And now, ladies and gentlemen,
Put your thumbs up and say it's Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo, Tickety Boo, everything's Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo, son. Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Tickety Boo. I'm here in the studio with Ian and Iona, and we're going to kick off by reading something that's been sent in to the podcast. It is a question we've been asked by a listener, so I'm just going to read this to you and then we can get stuck into the subject. So it reads, how do you walk away from a friend that consistently crosses your boundaries when there are countless mutual friends that are intertwined in your life and that person doesn't treat them as badly as they treat you? So the person doesn't want to walk away from it because they have this fear of being judged, but they also don't want to publicly criticize this person because, you know, at some point they're worried that someone's going to go, oh, how's so-and-so? Have you seen them recently? So this is sort of social awkwardness about the situation. The person goes on to say that this situation's kept them stuck for years, and I'm just finding the resolve to break or limit contact with this person, because even when I do initiate contact with them, they very rarely respond to me. You ever been in a situation like this where you've had somebody in your domain who is part of the greater social circle but treats you differently to how you perceive how they treat everyone else, and then you don't want to say or do anything because of the ripple effect that goes through the social circle?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think the more I sort of reflect on myself, the more I've enabled this behaviour. But it's happened to me a few times, definitely recently. But for me, what it is, you don't realise it's a toxic friendship for quite a while. Because if you saw these toxic traits in people, you wouldn't allow them in. You'd sort of keep them at arm's length. But then it's, for me, speaking from experience, where it becomes toxic is when you let somebody in, and you don't realise at first, but then they hide it well and they start to learn about you. They learn your triggers. They learn what upsets you. They learn your boundaries, and then over time, without realising it, to the rest of the world, they're this super nice person. This is the problem. Everybody's got a great perception of this other person in your head, and you're being triggered, but it's kind of it's stealth. You don't realise a lot of this toxic stuff is quite stealth, and you can see everybody's loving this other person, and you're thinking that by walking away you're going to be judged and you're going to be perceived as the problem, and nobody will see your side of the story.
I'm very aware that this goes two ways though, doesn't it? Because sometimes you are the problem.
Yes.
I want to make sure that we cover both sides of the coin here, because I'm very aware that there are those that, you know, will point the finger and go, they're the problem, but actually it's the reverse in this situation, and they then want the audience to jump on board with their viewpoint of the situation. So it's important we cover both sides there.
Yeah, definitely. So you got to think about it. Is it the situation that's toxic? So you've got two people, personally, you know, perfectly decent people, but the situation that they're in is the toxic part of it. Is it that we all have toxic traits that other people can bring in? Doesn't mean you're necessarily a narcissist or you're toxic, but we all have traits that are kind of activated by certain people.
Insecurities, your attachment styles. I think the problem is, the difficult part here is it isn't the friendship, it's the audience, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Because you're internally going, how do I control the narrative with that individual, but also the wider audience that they're plugged into? And that's really difficult to manage, isn't it? It's almost impossible to manage.
And sometimes, they're just not your people. Maybe you've outgrown them. So it can be, and the other person could be resentful to you because they notice you've changed. And sometimes you just need to get into a different room, or just, and I think for particularly with the caller who's asked this as well, you can just withdraw gradually, so it doesn't need to be a hard, like a big blow up and a breakup.
Well, yeah,
it's about having those boundaries and
but I think
lower contact.
I think there's something else. I think we stay in situations where we're not being respected or valued because we're waiting for everyone to notice so they can go, oh, it's terrible how they've been towards you. I don't agree with it. And you almost sit there getting frustrated and why is nobody coming along to do that? So we kind of suffer unnecessarily.
Victim mentality, waiting for
For rescue.
yeah.
Rather than going, do you know what? I can just remove myself from the situation. And is it actually your suffering comes from you worry more what others may say rather than what's important to you?
Really good point.
Because you don't need to explain to anyone why you've decided to remove yourself from a situation. In fact, what I would argue is if you need to go around and tell other people, that's actually toxic in itself. Because what you're looking then to do is to muster together a clan almost to turn against that individual.
Yeah, that's manipulation. And that's what toxic people do.
Yeah.
And we can make excuses and we can say it's our fault, but there are some people that are just really, really toxic, and they will manipulate and they will play you for a reaction. And then when you react, they will publicise your reaction and make you the world's worst person.
See, I was right. Look what they did, and totally. So they use it against you. Yeah. It's weaponised.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you've got people that aren't talking to you, or people that look at you differently because you don't know what's being sold to them.
The great phrase is no reaction is a reaction. That's the key thing is I think when we contemplate on stepping away though, part of our brain reacts like we're in danger because social rejection actually activates the same parts of the brain of when we're in physical pain.
Yes.
So we avoid the discomfort of the situation and we move away from it. I think really you need to, in my opinion, you need to take this away from them and you need to bring it back to you.
And start doing things that you enjoy and going to making other connections outside. So it's not about an either or. Just start, like in our last episode, we were talking about all the things we were all doing and being busy. It's not necessarily just distract yourself and go and hang out somewhere else, go and learn an activity, like do something, meet different people.
We've talked about this before. You're not really afraid of losing the friend. You're afraid of being seen differently. We talked about this. The group that we grew up in, a few of us were lucky enough to completely distance ourselves and remove ourselves and go and build other lives. But there was a point in life where we're afraid what that would have looked like. So we continued to conform to be in that group. Yeah. And the very people that we both know who we're talking about, they're still there in that same space, doing exactly the same things. And don't get stuck in that. Maybe, you need to go and find a new tribe.
But I agreed. But going back, this was when we were much, much younger. But that was like that need. We've got this basic instinct to be part of the tribe because you didn't want to be cast out and left to die. And in some ways, they were rough times. There was an element of survival. But then what would happen is this fear of being cast out. You'd then create this toxic codependency. And that toxic codependency where you stay linked to these people, it's not healthy. And sometimes it can be toxic because the way that you're trying to prove yourself to each other is by doing stuff that doesn't fit into your core makeup and beliefs. Yeah. You're doing stuff that just doesn't fit in with your values. Whatever that may, whether it's violence, relationships, whatever it is, just treating people in a certain way, just going with the crowd. Yeah, that's toxic because it's taking you, away from your core ethics and making you. Well, you can just never back yourself when you feel that way.
Yeah. So, do you think sometimes doing nothing is about reputation management? Yeah, that sort of staying. Be the reasonable person.
I think we've got different levels to this.
Yeah.
You've definitely got different levels. You've got levels where somebody's been so ground down, you've got your intermittent bonding, bonding even, where people are so desperate for those little glimpses of being treated well. People can wind up feeling so low about themselves. Who else would be interested in me? Who else would want to talk to me? And again, it's another form of toxic codependency. Where it works very, very much on levels. Some of the stuff that we're saying, just distance yourself. You can't do that in every situation. Sometimes it's work, sometimes it's a marriage, sometimes it's just somebody that you've been close to for a long time, and every time they leave you, you don't understand why you feel a bit drained or what's so good about yourself, because a lot of the time it's clever, it's stealth, it's clever. They know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing.
I think it took me a long time in my life to get to this point, but actually, when I found myself in these situations in the past, it's actually because I've triggered something in that person, and it's normally they're jealous of your success, or they don't want to see you succeed, so they'll take joy from bringing you down or breaking you down, and actually they then want to go and get other people on board with them to make them feel like, see, I'm right, I'm justified in my approach. And actually those people need to stop and take a look at themselves. So actually I would probably say to you, look, they've seen something in you that threatens them. You know, whether you're more successful, financially successful, you know, you're doing something in your life well that's activated something inside of them, and it's about them, not about you.
Well, if they have to live their life in comparison of you, well, one, that's quite sad on them. Going back to something Iona said earlier, which is, you know, as you change, people are uncomfortable with that. And when people want to have a level of control, or they're uncomfortable with the fact that you're growing, or we're just on the same journey, just moving at different paces at different times. But what some people will do, instead of championing you and watching you grow, they'll try and pull you back to where you were, because at that point you were useful. At that point they understood
And they're
you,
more comfortable when you're in
and
that
they're
place.
more comfortable. And they can see you drifting away and doing your own stuff, and they can't cope.
So why are we so bad then as in choosing peace? Why do we continue to stay, remain, not choose peace, lean into chaos?
Because there's a bunch of reasons. It could be it's familiar, better the devil you know.
FOMO,
yeah. I've put in all this time into this friendship. We've been friends for years, so there's that history and that loyalty. Or on those times where they have treated you nicely, you're like, well, it's not bad all the time.
I think as well, what I've noticed is friendship's a strange word, but what I've noticed is some people make it transactional, but there's no clear contract, which is like, I will be your friend, or, you know, your associate or whatever it is, as long as you continue to do that for me. In fact, you're in this lane and you're doing this for me. There's this unconscious contract between the two of you, and you've got no idea that this is going on, but as soon as you don't comply to that, or you don't meet their expectation, they suddenly take umbrage at it, and they've got a problem with you. And then you go like, oh God, like maybe it is me, and you start to doubt yourself. But this person had an agenda all along. They had a story in their head of how the relationship's to be, what they're getting from it. And I don't like the word manipulation, but it is a form of manipulation. You are there to play this role. You've never agreed to play this role. You are ticking this box for me. But if I see you getting outside that box, or too big, or somebody comes in and threatens my position in that, then you're going to see a different version of me. And one day I'll be all for you, and the next day I'll turn against you. And I'm just now, you know, I love the whole Mel Robbins things. Let them. Yeah. Just let them do it. Just let them get on with it. Old me would have been anxiety. I need to lean in and fix it and rescue the situation and reputation management, all this. I'm just like, no, do you know what? If that's what you want to go and do, go do it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it hurts.
It does. It sucks.
Yeah.
It absolutely sucks. And also, you know, of course, you know, it does make you self-reflect, going, maybe I need to think about the way I don't enforce boundaries or accept certain things, or maybe the way that I communicate. There's learnings in this for me, but I'm not going to make it all about me. And one of the key things I've learned over all the years is it's because you've allowed your boundaries to be crossed too many times.
Yeah.
Yes. We are accountable for this
It's
ourselves.
personal responsibility.
And a small example is somebody recently was doing something that I found publicly degrading, disrespectful. I mean, I've got fairly fluid boundaries. Say fluid boundaries. Most things go. But there are certain things that I can't cope with. Being disrespected, especially publicly, because I find it degrading. they think it's funny, or they think they think it's an acceptable way to behave, which to them it is. So to them it's not toxic behaviour. To me it is, because of my core wound. As it goes, I think goes back to a period of being bullied at school and different things when I was being raised. I can reflect now. I've calmed down. I can reflect on that.
Yeah.
They were still trying to push my buttons, but ultimately it was me that chose to let them push my buttons, and it was me that chose to react in the way I did. So I have to hold my hands up. But now I understand that, though in their head they weren't coming from a toxic place, it was the combination of the ingredients of that situation were toxic to me because of how I was reading it, not necessarily their delivery.
I think it's when these people go around as well and tell other people that they shouldn't like you or they shouldn't speak to you because of this. That, this sort of turn it into a witch hunt, this blame cancel culture that kind of goes on now as well.
Oh, that's horrific. I've never known it as bad as it is
It's
now.
so bad. And actually, just step out the circle. Just let them stay in that, because silence says a lot.
Well, that's where I'm at with it. I was telling you about it, and it sounds really, really juvenile, but it's like Facebook likes. And I say this sounds really juvenile, but that is turned into a form of passive aggression and
Agreed.
reinforcing. So people will like things and share things if they're trying to have a go at somebody, or
They won't.
yeah. Or another situation is, there's lots of people that we do lots of things for. Louise is the first port of call whenever anybody's in trouble. But at the moment, we're coming towards the end of a project, and Lou's partners in this, and she's cleaning them through and then showing people something that's very important to her. She just shared a couple of videos of the flats, which look great. She's not waving it round. She's just saying, this over the last 18 months when we disappeared, this is what we've been doing. And instead of championing her, people are now using that as an excuse. They see it, as she's rubbing it in my face. And they're choosing to take that in a toxic capacity rather than just going, that's a friend that's done something well.
Celebrating her.
How about we celebrate her success, which is what real friends do. Toxic people don't become resentful because somebody else... Because resentment, all it does is it torments you, and then the good successful will break away from you and leave you behind, which is what needs to happen here.
I think we need to be careful in these situations as well, because there's the other side of it as well. If they don't like, comment and share the story we start to tell ourselves, do you know what I mean? Like they've not, I'm not saying this is with this case, but we have to be very careful of the story we start to tell ourselves in these situations. Like, they can't acknowledge me. Why are they just not? Why don't they show the love? Because I think when you base your position and how you feel, how your piece is on that, you're setting yourself up for
Oh no, I agree.
huge.
It does go into different social situations.
Yeah.
They've reinforced it repeatedly over different things.
Yeah.
And then one of them will put a picture of a shot in, and every single one of them will dive in. But then something that's life changing that they've done, they just get resentful and bitter.
I know it's a terrible cultural thing. I think I've said this on other episodes where people will sit and you think that they're championing you, genuinely wanting the best for you. And there are those. But there's also a large pocket of people that are waiting for you to fail, trip or fall. And then they are like vultures circling over the carcass. They will feed off that. And I'm like, is that the world that we've actually created? I love success. I love to see people doing well.
Me too.
And I'm really happy to celebrate them when they do that. Do I do it all the time? No, because I'm busy. But if I can genuinely acknowledge it and see it, and if I don't do it on social media, I'll tell them to their face, or I'll tell other people, I'll champion them to other people, I'll openly talk about them. But I think if you're one of these people that makes yourself feel better by bringing others down, you need to take a look at yourself. But if you're someone who's sitting there tolerating it, you also need to take a look at yourself. Because actually what we're really talking about is it's your fear to step away from the situation and the story you're telling yourself off the back of that.
Is it fear? Is it low self-esteem?
Yeah.
Is it thinking lack of confidence?
Yeah.
Lack of, maybe lack of backbone sometimes. You're too scared to say.
And the other, I think that there was a bit of their message when they said, I'm learning now not to send them a message because they very rarely respond. Match their energy.
Yep.
I don't mean if they're toxic, go toxic. Just, if they engage, you engage. If they don't engage, you don't engage.
What is it? Why do you feel the need to chase somebody that is not interested? Or
Because that's about your anxiety, your attachment, your fear of not being good enough. It means you need to look parts of yourself. And actually, rather than chasing or, trying to fix, sit in what you're feeling and go, what's coming up for me and what does this mean? And don't try and answer it in the moment. Sit in it.
Yeah.
Don't try and, ignore it. Be in it. And let it kind of come up for you. But what I would say is take your power back. Don't make it about them and your friends and what they're not doing or what they're not saying. Make it about you.
Yeah.
Take personal responsibility and go, I have a choice. I have a choice to put my energy where it's reciprocated and where it's matched. And if I don't have that audience, I'm going to go and find that audience and I'm going to build it.
100%.
And I'm going to put my time there. I think that's bit of a rant, but it's where we go. Well, I hope to that particular listener that sent us that message, one, thanks very much for listening and sending us the message. Next week, we're talking about something it sits with me, it's a biggie. Why is it so hard just to be content with where we are in life? Yeah, so that's next week's episode. As always, thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you next time in Tickety Boo.
If you or someone close to you needs to access mental health support, please contact your GP, or if it's out with normal office hours, get in touch with NHS 24 on 111. Alternatively, contact the Samaritans on 116 123. All calls are free of charge from any phone. You can also find more support information on the Tickety Boo website, ticketyboopodcast.co.uk.